Madison Carr coming to you from Eagle Eye News. And today we are going to go over to Lindsay as she tells us information about our mock election we will be holding here at the Boyle County Middle School and our governor's election. October was Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and with us today we have Miss Bryant and Miss Enlow to share information about their stories and battles with cancer. Miss Bryant, what stage and what treatment plan did you have?
Well, I am stage 1, or not stage 1, I was stage 2. Initially they thought I was stage 1, and I have invasive, or I did have, because I say I did have, invasive carcinoma, and it's estrogen positive, which means that I did not have to take chemotherapy, but I am taking estrogen blocking medicine for 5 years. And let's see, you want to also know what the treatment plan was? Okay, so I had to have a lumpectomy, which is a surgery to remove the cancer, and then I had to have lymph nodes in my underarm removed, and then I had to do radioactive or radiation therapy. So I think that's
Yep. Miss Enlow, what stage and what treatment did you have?
I had stage 3B triple negative breast cancer, which was also invasive ductal carcinoma. I had 4 different kinds of chemotherapy over the course of 6 months. I had surgery, radiation, and I'm still receiving infusion treatments every 3 weeks through the end of November. And then I am going to be taking a medication until next September. So I still have a little ways to go, and it's been almost a year since my diagnosis last October.
Thank you. Miss Enlow, can you tell us a little bit about your story?
I'll do my best. So I found my cancer last October. My daughter was 7 months old. I was actually nursing at the time, and my 2 sons were 2 and 11. None of my medical team thought that it was cancer. They were reassuring that this was just a precaution, and I actually didn't feel a lot of anxiety or stress about it, which is good, I guess, until I got the call after school one day. So that's kind of my story of how I found it and what my life looked like at the time. And since then, everything has changed. But I get into that another day. If you guys have questions, feel free to come talk to me anytime.
Miss Bryant, what about you? What was your story?
Well, my story is I had a different kind of cancer 20 years ago. And I thought, well, you know, I had cancer 20 years ago. I'm good. I've done my time. I'm not going to have to worry about it again. And I was wrong. I had a mammogram scheduled for December of last school year, and I canceled it because I didn't want to miss school. And my doctor sent me a personal note in the mail, and she was, you know, really disappointed in me for not showing up. So I felt bad about that because I didn't want to disappoint her. So I went ahead and had my mammogram in February, and I thought this is going to be fine. There's no problem because I did not think I had a lump or anything. I mean, I just had no symptoms whatsoever. And the next day, well, actually, when I had my mammogram, they did it twice, which should have been an indication to me that something may have been wrong. And then the next day, I was called and said that I had to come in for an ultrasound. And then after the ultrasound, they said I had to go do a biopsy. And within about a week or 2, I had to go to, after the biopsy, I had to go to a surgeon, and I was told that I had cancer. And I did not believe it. I thought it was just a big lie. It's just really hard to accept. And anyway, my treatment this time was only really about 3 months because I had my surgery in March and I was done with my radiation in February. So I didn't have to endure as much as Mrs. Enlow has had to endure. And honestly, when I had my first surgery, or my first bout with cancer, which thank God was totally unrelated to this, it was about a 3-month ordeal too. So, yeah.
It all comes with its own trauma, though, you know?
Yeah.
Like, there is no there is no treatment plan. There is no diagnosis that's better than the other.
Yeah.
We are unfortunately in this together, but
Yes,
I'm glad
I know.
to have the support of people like Mrs. Bryant, and there's no comparison. Anyone who's gets faced with a diagnosis or has a family member that's faced with a diagnosis is faced with trauma that's unlike any other. So.
Yeah, it forever changes your life. You are never the same, and it depends on your attitude. You start to look at life a lot differently. If you have a good attitude, you start to see more of the beauty in the world.
Thank
you appreciate more.
What kind of advice do you have for even middle schoolers about cancer awareness?
I think I'm supposed to be going
Yes.
first, right? I think middle school kids think that nothing will ever happen to them, like nothing can touch them. And I think that you need to be aware that if you ever have changes in your body or something doesn't feel right in your body, you need to talk to your parents about it. Chances are it'll be nothing because, it is very rare for children to get cancer. But when you get older, you need to really follow all the screenings that are recommended for you. If I wouldn't have gone to have my screening, my cancer would have been much worse. It would have been much more advanced. And another thing is, if you have a family member or a friend with cancer, don't be afraid. That fear is not a good thing. We were not born to have a spirit of fear. You need to be brave. You need to be positive and speak words of positivity to your family members that have cancer or to your friends that have cancer. I don't think people realize how powerful our words are. So you speak words of healing. You speak words of life. You don't speak the worst case. The worst case that could happen.
That's great advice.
I just feel like people that have cancer don't want, I don't ever want anybody to feel sorry for me. I don't want people to speak to me like I still have cancer and that I'm gonna get worse or whatever. I want people to be positive with me and to feel like, yeah, I've defeated it, I won. Because that's how I feel. I don't want those words spoken over me.
I always said one of the greatest gifts that my friends and family gave me was they treated me like a warrior and not a patient.
Yes.
That was a huge gift from my friends and my support and my colleagues here at Boyle County Middle School. I've just been very fortunate that they had my back and expected me to be strong and didn't treat me like I was a patient. My advice is, my advice, the most important advice I can give to students in middle school, outside of what Mrs. Bryant already touched on, is to be kind. I think sometimes all of us, get wrapped up in what's going on in our own lives that we forget that everyone has something that's going on. So you never know how someone's being affected by cancer, whether it be a family member, a friend, or even themselves. So it's just important to be kind to everyone because we don't know what people are facing. So even when people seem strong and tough, the best gift that you can give them is just to be kind. And it's simple, but that's the best thing that you can do to support people who are facing cancer, either themselves or from a family member or...
On November 7th, many registered voters in KY will be heading to the polls to vote for our next governor, who will serve for 4 years on Monday, November 7th, 6. Our media and government class will host a school-wide mock election before school and during lunch. Information will be posted to the voting booth to ensure you educated vote. We will provide you with facts in each candidate and allow you to practice the democratic privilege of voting. Our candidates are Andy Bashir and Daniel Kemen. So let's vote BCMS.
I'm here with Mr. Taggart. Thank you, Mr. Taggart, for coming in. November is Indigenous People Month, and we were curious about your cultural traditions and your heritage.
Sure. Yeah. So my name's Manny Talbrook. I'm originally from Coctoboc, Alaska. That's an island off the northeast coast. So if you picture, the state of Alaska, here's the very top. Coctoboc's right here at the end of the finger on the eastern side of it. So, yeah, it's not very many as far as people. I think it's less than 1% of the population here in the United States or even globally. It's a real regional location. So the tribe and the culture that I'm from is the Inupiat culture. It's an Alaskan Native culture. A lot of people call it, the Eskimos for more of a, common term. But today I brought some stuff to kind of show, what's important to our traditions and the things we have going on in the north. So it's a subsistence lifestyle. That's essentially where you live off the land. There's no grocery stores there where I'm from. You pretty much have to catch and harvest whatever it is that you're going to eat. So the respect for the land, the environment, the animals, everything up there is real rich because it is the livelihood of the folks that live there, right? So I brought some stuff in today. These are pretty cool. I know I don't know if you've come over and felt this or anything, but this is a walrus skull right here. You can see it does have some scrimshaw here on the sides. The fur is actually really smooth, so that's kind of unique to it. Also, up there before the digital cameras and all the stuff that we have now. If you want to check that out, show the camera. So this is kind of like our version of photographs. Okay, so we have everything's digital nowadays, but when I was growing up, we had Polaroid cameras, and this is a way of remembering people. They would take caribou skin, place it on their face, and then leave an imprint as it dried, and then they would decorate it in different furs and stuff like that. Here we got an Arctic fox fur, so you can tell how soft that is.
It's really soft.
Pretty nice, huh?
Yeah.
So yeah, those are real important as well. So like, not only are we using these animals to feed ourselves and provide for the families, but also it's what keeps us warm. And here would be an example of how we use it. So here's a parka. This is what I grew up wearing. This was mine, believe it or not. At one point, I was that little. But as you can see, we got different types of fur on there, right? So if you look underneath the decorative cloth on it, you got caribou skin, and then this darker fur right here is wolverine, and then this is actually wolf ruff. So the males, they'll use the fur from the wolves to decorate the parkas with, and then on the females, they'll use the Arctic fox, so it'll be a fox ruff there. What else did I bring? So probably the most central and most important animal that we do have in our culture is the whale. So I know this doesn't look like a tooth when you imagine a tooth, but this is actually one of the teeth on a bowhead whale. Okay, so imagine them being stacked like this with a bunch of them together. The whale would open up its mouth, catch whatever fish or krill or anything that was in the area, and then it'll be able to filter it out, and these hairs right here will actually capture the stuff, so it can get rid of the water and then swallow the food that's inside of it. So not only are these for decorative pieces, but also functional. So here's another decorative piece, but you can use the baleen to make baskets that you can use to carry fish, other supplies, stuff like that. So like none of the animal, pretty much all the animal gets used for functional purposes. So that was just kind of to get over this right here. But so culturally, a sense of community, the respect for the environment, the land, and just the energy of everything is real important to our culture.
Alright, now that you have shared a little bit about your culture, can you clarify and share with our listeners how your culture has impacted society, because we know it has?
Yeah, sure. So, we're pretty isolated in one area, but it has impacted, a lot of things that went on with the state of Alaska itself. Regarding federal lands, regarding the oil industry in the North Slope. There was a lot of agreements that were made with the federal government, the state and local governments whenever Alaska was formed. So, a lot of those places that we can still enjoy today, like the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, some of the other, notable places in Alaska are preserved by, the native folks that kind of, struck those agreements with the government.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Thank you all. Now let's head over to hear our results from the Wheel of Fortune game to wrap it up.
Mr. Shelton with $6,100.
Thank you so much for joining us today. See you next time on Eagle Eye News TV.